Hi you guys, we're going to try a new recipe today. Use up some of that beautiful produce that's coming in. Tomatillo Chicken by Ms. Martha Stewart. I just got water on this, so I'm sure it's going to smear. So it calls for 1 whole chicken. I don't have a whole chicken, but I have almost 3 pounds of chicken, so that's good enough. So what we're going to do is take 2 pounds of tomatillos, put them in the food processor, process them up. And I also need some vegetable oil, salt, pepper, 2 jalapenos, but I'm going to use 1 gigantic jalapeno. I'll taste it though to see how hot it is. I had a crop failure this year, so I had to purchase that. Half a medium white onion. I am using a Walla Walla Sweet, and I will start out with half of this and we'll see. Might add more. 3 garlic cloves. I do have those from my own garden. 1 can of hominy. I don't have hominy, but what I do have is beautiful fresh corn. So I'm going to replace the hominy with the fresh corn just at the last minute. And a 1/4 cup fresh cilantro. So the first thing I need to do is put all the tomatillos in the whiz bang over here and whiz bang it all up, and then we'll cook the chicken. All right, so while I'm processing the tomatillos, I'm going to start the chicken in here. So I'm going to put in some vegetable oil, olive oil, lard, whatever you have. All right, so we're going to put the chicken in here and let it cook. It says skin side down, but I've got boneless, skinless chicken. So I'll start with where the skin used to be down. Do it in batches. I'm going to remove that fat. Oh no, you know what, I'm not, because it calls for skin on chicken. Do it in batches and let it get nice and warm. So when you first put the chicken in here, we're going to only cook it just the side that's down and let it brown, because we're going to cook it in sauce later, like a stewed chicken a little bit. And just put it in there, leave it alone. Leave it alone to be nice and happy, and that way it won't stick. If you try to turn it now, it's totally going to stick. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to turn it down to medium low, and then I'm going to continue working on the tomatillos. All right, all the tomatillos cut in half, well quartered, and are in our food processor, and now we're just going to turn it on. Look how beautiful that color is. All right, so it said to puree it. It has been pureed. Oops, got a big piece right there. I'm going to pull that out and use it in a minute. Take this off. I'm going to pour it into this container. And always put your finger underneath the blade so you don't rip it off, or the blade doesn't fall off. And I still have some hunks in there, so I'm going to just whiz this up and pour it in. So the recipe says to chop the onion and chop the jalapeno. I'm going to sauce it because I've got this here and I don't know, the idea just sounds good to me. So taking a little less than half the onion, I'm going to rough chop that. And let's talk about the jalapeno. Cut the end off. Be brave and take a little bite. Yeah. It's a spicy. Quite spicy. I'm going to leave the seeds and everything in there. And I'm just going to go with 1 jalapeno to start. So we've got onion and jalapeno, and we'll whiz this up now. too, but we should check on the chicken. It says it takes about 6 minutes aside. It's starting to release. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of here in a minute. All right, that fought me a little, but I won. Got a little brown on one side. Lost some of it in the battle. But it is what it is. And now we are going to do the other parts of the chicken that we have left over in there. All right, while that keeps cooking, we're going to do the onions and the jalapeno. Just a rough chop, but more fine than I would by hand. After you do whiz that around and you check it, make sure not to inhale too deeply. Those jalapeno oils will turn your toes. All right, second batch chicken is done from the Dutch oven here. Off. And I could let that go another minute. And then I'm going to add my last pieces in here. It did call for salt and pepper before I started. Of course, I forgot that. So, just going to do it now. No biggie. And finally, it calls for 3 garlic cloves finely chopped. And what I'm going to do is put them in there with the remains of... I'm going to remove the jalapeno and the onion. And then put this in there and whiz it up. Or I'll use the press. I don't know. What would you do? Press or chop it in there? Probably easier to use the press. All right. I'll be back in a sec. All right, last batch of chicken done. And now we take the jalapenos, onions, and actually just threw the garlic right on in here. And we put this in here. It's going to splitter and splatter because there's a lot of water. We cook this for about a minute or so. So this is the garlic, the jalapeno, and onion. Took some of that water down. It said 2 or 3 minutes until everything softens. And then we'll add in the tomatillo mixture. And then we add in the chicken and let that finish cooking. So you can see this is pretty straightforward. Easily done all by hand as well. But gosh, oh, God, that smells so good. Just garlic, garlic, garlic. And turn the heat up a little bit. I had it on low. And that fond, you know, the brown, beautiful bits at the bottom. We're just going to make sure those cook off and get involved with all this. So, yeah, we're just going to let that go until it gets all softened up. And we'll come right back. All right, so we've got it here. It's all nice and softened up, and most of that, well, not most of it, but a good deal of it is gone. Of course, we're going to add in the tomatillos now, and they're full of water. Well, actually, well, you know what I mean. Fluid. All right, let's put those in here. Look at that color. Back down to very low again, simmer. All right. Let's see how long we'll cook this for. All right, it says stir in the tomatillo puree and hominy, but I don't have the corn cut up yet, so I'll do that. Season with salt and pepper, nestle chicken, skin side up in sauce cover, and simmer until chicken is done, 22 to 25 minutes. Since this is just chicken thighs, and they're pretty thin, it's not going to take that much time, but I'm just going to let that chicken be nice and happy in here. So let's go ahead and get to nestling. And it said the brown side up. Do that. This was actually about 2.5 pounds of chicken. It called for a whole chicken. I didn't have a whole chicken. So we improvised. We had chicken thighs, and that's what we're doing is the chicken thighs. Ooh, barely enough room, you guys. That one's falling apart already. Nestle it in there. All right, so nestle it in there. Now I'm gonna go cut up that corn so I can add it on in and sprinkle it in. But gosh, how beautiful. Let's hope Martha Stewart's onto something here. All right, so we're simmering along here, just check at this. And if you remember, the recipe said to add cilantro in at the end. Now, Mr. Old School does not like cilantro. It doesn't taste like soap to him like it does to some people. He just doesn't like the flavor. And for my friends in India and in Great Britain, cilantro is what we call the leafy herb, for you also. Coriander. We call it cilantro here when it's in the United States, when it's in its fresh form. When it's in its seed form, we call it coriander. Anyway, so apparently it is a genetic thing. It's like literally in the genes. So don't make fun of people if they don't like it. Just don't add it. So I'm going to put it on the side whilst this bubbles away. All right, so now we're on to is getting the corn off the cob. And Mr. Old School again got me this thing. I used it the other day to take corn off, or to take the corn off the cob after it was cooked. This I'm doing raw, so we'll see how it goes. But it worked pretty well. One thing I do recommend for sure when you do corn, taking it off the cob, is to put a little towel in front of you, kind of make a ring around where you're working, so when it goes flying everywhere, you can kind of corral it a little bit. So let's see, make sure I don't rip my hands off. Look at that. Pretty good. I think it was $4. No idea where it came from. Getting it started is the hardest part. Check it out. Pretty cool, huh? It'll just, I don't know, take 2 minutes for it to cook in the chicken, so I'm not going to add this until we're almost done. And then I will, and then we will eat. All right, so it's been cooking along, and it's really pretty much done at this point. You can see the color has changed pretty significantly. I took a taste of it, and if you know what tomatillos taste like, you probably have a really good idea of what this tastes like. I did add in some more salt. The one big jalapeno was perfect. When you taste it, you get that bright lemony feeling, taste, and then on the back end, there's heat. When they served it on the Martha Stewart show, it looked like a soup. So I'm thinking rice might be a nice accompaniment to this, to get in all of that beautiful sauce with it. You could just pull the chicken out, of course, and just eat that. So we're going to go ahead and just let this corn sit in here. And again, I'll just put the coriander or the cilantro on individual portions of it. But I'm going to make some rice, and we're going to put that on the side. I don't know, how else would you do that? You could, take the big hunks of meat out and put it in a tortilla or something. But gosh, I just want to continue to drink this sauce, so I'll have to think about that. But you tell me what you would do, and when you see me again, we'll have it plated up. A lot of corn. It really thickened up. Some people thin it down and then they Eat it like soup.
That's good.
There you go.